Hello and welcome to Connotation Points Video Snark. I'm currently reading through The Betrothed by Kiera Cass. This is not the first video of this book, so I recommend that you watch the other videos before you start this. Links are posted below. Chapter 9. Very early one morning, a maid comes to get Hollis, stating that Jameson has requested her for an urgent matter. There's a guard with the maid, and the guy makes both girls uneasy. The maid helps Hollis put on a dressing gown and pin her hair up, and oh look! This book does know what a maid is after all. I was beginning to think that it didn't. They all go down the hall to the throne room where Jameson is with Hollis's parents as well as the family from Isolate. Hollis asks Jameson how she can help him. He waves her question aside and turns his attention to the Isolate family instead. He asks them if they've been in contact with their king since they left, but the man insists that they have not. Jameson then starts to yell at the family over how the king is coming to Corona with his wife. And this is all very well and good, but nobody cares. Literally not at all. Who cares if the Isolate king is coming to rub in the fact that his wife is prettier and classier than the Corona king's potential bride? Jameson has worked himself up into a frenzy over the entire thing. He's completely and utterly convinced that the family are all a bunch of spies. He's also convinced that the other king is going to come over here and make fun of Hollis's features, I guess. A real roasting, if you will, which doesn't exactly seem good for future alliances, if you ask me. But I'll take any amount of problems that I can get, even if it's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard in 5 minutes. Jameson tells the Isolate people that they are to be on their absolute best behavior while their former king is there, or else he will literally behead them. So much for Jameson being better than his tyrant father. There are other people from Isolate at that court, and Jameson expects for this family to bring the other people into line as well. Jameson also looks towards the mother of the family and tells her that she'll teach Hollis how to behave properly in an Isolate court, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, especially if Jameson thinks that the family are all a bunch of spies. And I would say something about, why are you teaching her manners for another country? But then I remember that Hollis is an overgrown child who has apparently never once been told no in her entire life, so she probably needs somebody to smack her knuckles with a ruler when she uses the wrong fork. Jameson thundered, which is immediately followed by Hollis lightning. Why are authors so set on using the worst adjectives to describe how a character is saying something at any given time? Well, at least it's not ejaculated. Jameson then asks if anybody else has anything further to add. Hollis suggests that the Isolate family are artists and that they could make something as a peace offering for their former king. Jameson agrees and sets them to this task while also praising Hollis for her quick thinking, but simultaneously insulting Hollis's mother for some unholy reason. I'm not going to question it at this point because it's practically a throwaway line. Jameson says that the king will be there tomorrow, and Hollis completely and utterly panics over the entire thing, despite the fact that she apparently knew this entire time that he was going to be coming on Friday. Why in the name of sanity had not one single person been prepping the king's almost fiancé for such an important visit? It's almost like Jameson wants Hollis to fail or something. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, the Isolate family probably aren't the spies. The people who sent the letter to the other king are probably the same people who disapprove of Jameson marrying Hollis. I would say if I trusted that this book was well written. Anyway, I'm gonna try and pronounce what this name looks like to me. Lady Eastoff asked Hollis what time that she should come to teach Hollis an entire country's court etiquette in less than a day, because this is what we've come down to now, apparently. Hollis says that it's early, so the lady should come after she's at least eaten and dressed. Silas and Sullivan offer Hollis encouraging smiles. You'd better be up to this, Father warned me in passing, making me aware that I'd been staring. You will not humiliate us in front of the lords again. Wow, Dad. Such encouragement. Much faith. Wow. I know that I talk a lot about how awful Lady Bright is, but Lord Bright is just as awful. And then Hollis randomly thinks this. I'd gone from being the lady Jameson was going to dance with at dinners to his official companion for a visit from a foreign king. From what I remembered of Jameson's mother, dozens of tasks fell to her for state visits. Was I expected to do everything a queen would? Wow! Who would have thought that becoming romantically involved with a king would require you to, I don't know, do actual work? Like a queen or something? Groundbreaking. Chapter 10. What do you do when the king of another kingdom is going to be visiting and you're almost engaged to the king? Why, you must fuss over what you're going to wear, of course. Nothing quite like actually getting down to business of learning the court etiquette that you should have been learning since you could sit up on your own or anything. Eventually, Lady Eastoff shows up with her daughter Scarlet to finally put us all out of our misery. "Where would you like to start?" I said. "I'm not entirely sure. I'm not the best pupil, but I just need to learn enough about Isolate not to look like an absolute fool." Want to know when a good time to learn all of this would have been? Not 24 hours before the visiting king is supposed to arrive. Every woman in your position has had a moment like this when their era, so to speak, began. I'm pretty sure that most women aren't put on short notice literally a day beforehand. Lady Eastoff sits down and decides to jump into telling Hollis the Cliff Notes version of King Quentin. The short of it is that he's a power-hungry dictator whose entire motivation seems to have been taken directly from Henry VIII, first wife dead after having provided a slew of daughters and one sickly son. He is remarried now, but this is proving to be fruitless. Lady Eastoff continues to insist that Queen Valentina is young and nobody really knows who she is. They think that if they entertain Valentina, then it might get them into better graces with Quentin. However, nobody knows what Valentina might like, so they spitball ideas for a brief moment. Lady Eastoff tells Hollis that she thinks that Hollis is brave for wanting to become the queen. Which, between you and me, I don't think that Hollis gives a flying fig about becoming the queen at all. Actually, I think that becoming the queen is so far down on Hollis's radar that she often forgets that it's attached to Jameson at all. She's so focused on getting married to Jameson that she literally forgets who Jameson is. Hollis then tells them how she caught Jameson's eye. It was about 18 months following the death of his father, and his mother died 3 months after the father died. Hollis has been dancing with Delia, and they kind of flew apart from one another. Delia landed in the arms of the watching ladies, but Hollis landed in Jameson's arms, and it was the first time that anybody had heard Jameson laugh following the death of his parents. Hollis is just thankful that it ended up like it had. They could have just as easily ended up on the floor, or Delia could have ended up in Jameson's arms instead. And this is great and everything, but I hate how we're being told all of this cute stuff secondhand months after it happened. I don't think that I would have minded this story half as much if we were getting that story, a proper romance novel, rather than whatever this is. Lady Eastoff then actually has to tell Hollis how to interact with the visiting king and queen, which, again, feel like Hollis should have known all of this since the time she was old enough to talk, but whatever. And then Hollis's parents barge in, because I guess the plot was stalling a little too much and needed another kick in the pants. The second that the Eastoff ladies are out of the way, her father plops a map down on the table and starts to talk about political affairs and how such and such whatever is on the brink of a civil war, and Hollis is like, "Lord, this is boring. I don't know how I can remember all of this," after literally 20 minutes. Girl, if you think that one lesson is difficult, have I got some bad news for you about how actually being the queen is going to go for you. At least Hollis has enough common sense to understand that one 20-minute lesson with her father is not going to be enough for meeting the king and queen tomorrow. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss anything. Also, while you're waiting for the new video next week, be sure to catch up on my other video series. If you've already caught up with that, then you can head over to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated daily. People who support me on Patreon also have early access to my daily Snark, but also bonus Snark that isn't up anywhere else. People who donate to me, either by supporting me on Patreon or by making a one-time donation via PayPal or Ko-fi, also get shoutouts in my videos. Thank you so much to Don and Phoebe for supporting me already. Be sure to join my Patreon or donate to hear your name next week. Also, if you want to read some of the stuff that I've published, then you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have 18 erotic short stories, 1 short story collection, and 1 full-length novel. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!